live from the Pathway Studios in Johnston proper. You are live from the path. And you are listening to Live from the Path. We're coming from the Pathway Studios here in Johnston proper, which seems more redundant now that I said the opening at the same time. It felt like I had just gotten information. Okay, that's my fault. We get some technical problems in here, and so Pants does this much better than I do, but we're making do for today.
Bring back the pants.
What do you say? Bring back the pants.
Bring back the pants.
Okay, I can see that.
Too much Ben.
Yeah,
Not enough pants.
Yeah, I totally, I feel that. Dan, you feel that?
I'm feeling it.
Okay.
I'm feeling creeped out right now, too, because there's this different computer here, and there's a poster of a guy playing a guitar on our wall, and I keep looking, and it's reflecting off the computer, and it's looking right at me.
Oh.
I keep looking up thinking, who is, okay, that's...
Like a dude staring at you.
There's a dude staring at me like, stop it. Oh, he's not real.
Yeah, I could see that. I could wig a guy out. All right, here's what we got going on the show this evening. Hold on. Nathaniel, you try your mic for me real quick?
Check.
Okay, good. We're good. All right.
See me don't push.
So here's what I don't even want to talk about this, but I think we're going to talk about it. Has anybody been following the Hillsong stuff this week?
No.
Not really. I just know their stuff went down. Was it like official now? Or,
yeah.
I'd read stuff in the past, but...
Yeah, so this is from the Christian Post. Hillsong founder Brian Houston was drunk inside a woman's hotel room for 40 minutes. Church reveals. This is an oddly specific thing that happened.
Drunk for 40 minutes? Where they kept testing him to see levels or something?
It's weird. It's so specific a thing that they've said.
At 42 minutes, he was fine.
He was, yeah. So here's what it says. Hillsong Church founder Brian Houston violated the church's code of conduct by entering the hotel room of an unidentified woman for 40 minutes while under the influence of alcohol and prescription drugs during the church's annual conference in 2019. In a statement outlining investigations into 2 complaints against Houston's behavior in the last 10 years, the Global Evangelical Church Network also said that its global senior pastor exchanged an inappropriate text message with a staffer in 2013, resulting in her resigning shortly after. Like one? One text message?
This guy's out of control. I mean, already I'm like, going, wait a minute. It's his own church conference. So there's church people everywhere, right?
Yeah, right.
They're all there. And he's going to just slide into someone's room and not be noticed when he's like the most visible guy in the entire church.
Yeah, what a dummy.
It's like...
that means he was drinking, like under the influence of alcohol and prescription drugs. Like, why are you drinking at the church conference?
Yeah. That's someone who either wants to be caught or is so...
Arrogant
that they think they can't be. Yeah, there's nothing they can't do wrong.
Yeah. That makes sense to me. Okay.
Wow.
But I just, let's see. In a recent recording of a meeting with 800 staffers of the global megachurch, Hillsong interim global pastor Phil Dooley said Houston doesn't recall having sex with the identified woman in the hotel room. This is the worst PR effort that I've ever seen.
Except for the drugs and alcohol, I can't remember if we had sex.
Yeah, like I know he was in there for 40 minutes specifically, but I have no idea whether something odd went on in there. Houston reportedly met the woman who was not a member of Hillsong in the foyer of the Pullman Hotel where several Hillsong officials were drinking. Classic. If it was after one of the conference nights and he was drinking with the group, later that evening, he went to go to his room, didn't have his room key, and ended up knocking on the door of this woman's room, and she opened the door, and he went into her room. Dooley said the church couldn't conclusively say what happened. This woman has not said if there was any sexual activity. What do you mean, did you ask? I don't understand this. This is really bad. Okay, let's separate 2 problems. One, this is terrible. This is an abuse of power. It's an arrogant fool leading one of the biggest church organization in the world. Now, that is separate from the incompetence of this public relations department, who's like the last thing that you want to do in the midst of some sort of scandal is leave a bunch of open questions. Like, you just don't want you want to be as clear as you can, as early as you can, with specifics that matter, so that you can, control what people are talking about. You don't want to still be talking about this month over month over month. And this is terrible. They're doing a terrible job.
They do not have a good PR person here.
Yeah. Everyone has been drinking, they said. So the woman said also her recollection is not completely coherent. What are they just like ask her once while they walked by her in the hall, and that was it.
I don't know.
Yeah, hey, do you remember anything with Brian? Okay.
I mean, it was late.
As local,
That's a lot of drinking. That's
Is
a
it?
lot of drinking to not remember something.
yeah,
That's not like, hey, they had a couple social drinks.
right.
You had a church conference, pastoral staff, leaders of the movement, spiritual leaders getting plastered in a bar, picking up strangers. Yeah, this is great.
Yeah. Here's the thing, and no one's. I'm gonna grant right now that no one listens to me, and no one listens to the program, and no one who is of any level of popularity would know or care what I think. But can we just say, look, you can't be cool. You can't be the guy who leads the church and be cool. The guy who does the things that the culture think is cool. This is bad. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're the guy who goes, when everyone else is doing the things the culture thinks is cool, you go, nah, man, I'm good. I'm good.
Right.
Isn't that their whole thing, though?
Well, so kind of. I like
Like running around without their shirts on, being all ripped and chiseled, and having a few social drinks because they can.
yeah, but
Isn't that their deal?
so that isn't that the thing. This is the thing that I've I don't want to say I've got difficulty with, but like there are times when I sympathize with the old codger who says the world is ending and everyone's a sinner.
Yeah.
You know, because like as much as I want to see us not shackle ourselves in places where Scripture doesn't, like is not that prude of a man who's always complaining about the new music and what type of the stuff people are wearing and the liberalization of the language. Is he not right sometimes?
Yeah.
And you're like, come on. Like, here's the thing. That's the two things I hate to happen. You hate to see someone follow paths in their lives that God didn't design, and you hate to see, like, real pig-headed codgers be right. And doggone it if Brian Houston hasn't brought this group together.
I mean, does it almost seem like there's a whole bunch of King Sauls out there? They got the charisma and the looks and and all the popularity, and then they just make some really poor choices, and then God's like, yeah, I think I'm done with you people. I mean, doesn't that seem what's going on in the megachurch out there? Not all of them, but
Yeah, right.
I mean, there's so many that get caught up in the glory of it all, the hype, and being like a mega pastor star, you know. That they're just making poor choices, and it's almost like God's like, I told you all not to have a mega church, and you had to have one anyway because you thought everybody else had one and it was cool.
Yeah.
You know, and now look at you.
That's right. I actually think if anything you walk into, even if you believe it is a right type of thing, like something that God would want, if you are under the impression the phrase, yes, no one else could, but I can handle it, applies to you, it's incorrect.
Yeah.
Like two red flags and a spike to the throat. This is not, you cannot handle it. Like it's like clockwork though. Like it's always all the really big ones, and you're like, well, this is sustained for so long, and like, oh, it won't be like that one other guy. He couldn't handle it. It moved too far, too fast.
Yeah.
It's not different. Human power is corruptive. It's not different.
It took me a long time to figure this out because I wanted to be that guy too. I mean, everybody goes out of college and like, everybody's going to ministry. I want to be the next mega church guy, and that was my big goal and everything. At the same time, I refused to compromise on certain things. That it wasn't until later I looked back and thought, oh, those are the things that make you mega, though.
Right.
But it's like I just refused to. There were certain things I would not go back on.
Yep.
Whether it's commitment to family, commitment to staff, whatever different things that there's half a dozen people I probably should have fired in my life that I never did. Is like, no, I'm going to give this guy another month or another year or whatever.
Yep.
And a megachurch would have gone rid of him in a heartbeat. You know? And it's like, no, I had bigger values than that.
That's right.
Or guess what? I'm going to my kid's Little League game. I should probably go see those 3 people who were at church Sunday, but I'm not going to. Right. Those are conscious choices.
Yep.
And so it got to a certain point. It took me a while where I was like, no, actually, I'm glad I'm not the megachurch guy. Number one, I'm not wired that way. I'm not corporate man.
Yep.
And I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I don't know. That's just crossed my mind. It's the King Saul thing. They all start out well, and then they go crazy.
Yeah, there's no reason. I think it's really easy to throw babies out with bathwaters.
Yeah.
And like, hey, this thing was doomed from the start. I don't know that was the case. Just like King Saul didn't have to be.
Yeah.
There was a path to faithfulness, but like, there's a precipice, and then you have to make a human choice or a spirit-led choice. And like when you make the human choice, you start to bathe in human consequences, and then your water splashes all over everyone else that you're supposed to be leading. Gosh, it's such garbage. Such garbage. Because like, here's the thing though. I just, if there's this, sorry, I bring this up often because we have a very wide range of conversations with this logic class I teach. But like, we were watching the State of the Union, Biden's State of the Union address. And the reason I wanted to watch it was, hey, can we watch for any logical fallacies that may show up in the speech, but then
or even complete sentences.
Oh yeah, or certain things that just kind of fall off the edge. But like one of the things that we're watching out for is like, okay, what argument is being made, and then people tend to fall into, even at that age, like the high school age, they hear things that their parents think, or they pick up something at school, and like they've got like a real quippy kind of they've got a core response. They're like, oh, that's stupid, that's wrong, I know, blah, blah, blah. And all it takes is like 2 questions in to go, isn't this a lot more gray than what you think? Like, hey, I think the government should stay out of things. Great. So some of the depth of which the government is involved in things happened because the government was not involved, and like people are being significantly mistreated. And so everything? Well, no, probably not. Mm-hmm. And like we talked about some of the foreign policy, and we talked about some politics stuff. And like the core thing is that like you've got to recognize that the world is always more gray than you're being presented. Mm-hmm. It just isn't so easy. And like just the same way that like I echoing some of the things Dan's talking about, like there's a significant human power risk in churches of that size. Like, are people meeting Jesus in these structures? Some are.
Oh yeah.
Some are. And like there's places where their notion of God culturally is related to their grandparents. Like they just didn't it seems like the famous Nietzsche, like God is dead. God died 40 years ago. And he lives in his spirit lives in an old dusty church somewhere. Like, to the extent that Yahweh doesn't feel relevant in our lives, we are probably doing it wrong. And so like that people can connect with someone whose faith is spoken of openly and gives the perception that like it matters in your life, it matters in the what you do and how you marry and how you raise your kids. Like these are all relevant messages, and like if it takes were people connecting with some of that in some of these giant churches? Of course they were.
Well, yeah,
they were. And there's people like I sympathize. Like I'm in the same boat as Dan. Like I'm not a magnetic speaker, really. I can teach the Bible, but like I'm not good at that. And like you can hear some of these guys, and heck, I like to listen to them. They're good. Mm-hmm. They're good at getting people's attention and telling good things. And so, like, is there room? Do you have to go? You know what? You can't. Your band has to suck, and your guy has to not be a people person. It has to be dry as a bone. Otherwise, the Lord's not in it. Like that's dumb. But doggone it anyway, if by going down some of these paths, like we just can't throw up a roadblock to save our lives and go, yeah, up to this point, and then like Dan was saying, but here's the things that we do not compromise on, not even a wee bit. Mm-hmm. And then as long as whatever this other stuff is fits within the boundaries and principles of things that we don't compromise on, then let it fly for the glory of the Lord. But like not an inch over, not ever. We don't drink at the church conference. I don't care if it's cool. Like I don't
right.
Like
right.
Gosh, it's so difficult because like I'm so cautious of not overreacting in ways of which like and trying to cut off and say, well, the only thing that's holy is the thing that I'm comfortable with. That's stupid.
Yeah.
But like but you got to call your risks out. You got to know what your risks are, and like for heaven's sakes, people who lead churches, pull yourselves together.
Right.
Put the right things in place and go, like you've watched other people get blown up on this thing. And can you just go, actually, I can't remember if I said this when I was listening through it, but like I was listening to that Rise and Fall of Mars Hill podcast. Mm-hmm. And one of the episodes was about how Mark Driscoll kind of usurped the elders. He just went around, he took all the power out. And there were a couple of elders specifically who were like, dude, you got to recognize what you're doing here. Like you're trying, you're consolidating under you. This is not biblical. And he basically had them fired. And they terminated his elders. But like my gut reaction right after that was I sent a text message to two dudes in the church, and I said, look, if I've not said this enough or very clearly, like you have full permission. at any time. If you hear me teach something that is outside of Scripture, if you see me behaving in my personal or like my private life and my public church life, stories I tell that are not worthy of a man who has taken the responsibility to pastor this church, like I expect you to say it. And I don't care what I tell you in reaction to you saying it. You have my permission while I have a clear eye in case something ever goes afoul. And like, I feel like that's not holy. You should do that. Like that should be your humble position, and not just as a pastor. I mean, anybody really. Like I'm misrepresenting Christ here, and so I don't know how other guys. Like I felt like this is not even remotely a problem for me that I'm aware of. But I thought, it could be.
Neither were they.
I'm a human.
Yeah.
And so I thought I'm sending this thing directly.
Yeah.
And like I don't understand how this doesn't. I don't know, Dan. How does it not sit on them?
There is a church marketing machine. There's this machine that steps in as the church gets to a certain size, and I don't know what size that is because I've never been there. But from what I've heard from people who have been there, when you get to a certain size, like the publishers start coming after you.
Yeah. They
start building you up. They start making you bigger than you are. Then the church themselves, the leadership begins protecting you and circling around you because now you're bigger than the church. It's the personality. And you do that long enough and with enough people and get enough distance between when you were a normal setting where people can call you on the carpet and you're just Joe walking down the street and you're a superstar. There's a transition that happens in guys, and with anybody.
Yeah.
It would me too. That makes you. It's the movie star thing. It's the Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
Some of the oddities you go, he never had a childhood. I mean, I don't know why I picked him specifically, but just that they're just living a different world, and that's some of these pastors.
Yeah.
And then you add that the spiritual element onto it. They even think that they're like beyond God. They're like beyond the stuff they're teaching. I'm going to go ahead and get plastered in this church conference and go hang out with this girl I don't know and go into her room for 40 minutes and forget what I did because I am under the influence of drugs and alcohol.
Right.
And that's okay because I'm me, it could happen to anybody, so I don't want to overjudge them, but I'm so glad I'm not there.
Yeah, right. Right.
I'm glad God protected me from myself. Because who knows? But for the grace of God, what I'd you don't have to be a megachurch to mess up like that.
No, and with power like that, with the situation that you're in, and with the celebrity that comes along with it, like the temptations are a lot harder. Like they're more frequent. People are more flagrant about it. Like I'm unlikely to be walking down the street and have some lady go, "Hey, fella," like probably not. But like. It's the things that I will never be tempted by the nature of my looks and personality. A guy who's got a lot of influence, who appears to be a trusted person, like he will end up in situations and around people who are willing to tempt him in ways like it's harder. Like it does amp up the game, and those temptations become accessible in ways that may not apply to everybody else. And like again, this you're double careful.
Yeah, I had a small taste of that when we lived in Atlantic. We were kind of the big fish in a small pond thing. It's a small town, 7,500. And somewhere along the line, I started writing this weekly newspaper column, which honestly was not. I'm not a writer. I'm not an English major. It's just kind of a blue collar dude telling a little story.
Yeah.
In an unskilled way, but it connected because people knew who I was, and it was better than what they had, evidently, and it became like a sensation in the town. To the point where like it led to 2 books and all this stuff, but people would stop me. When we got to a point where I'd be mowing my yard and someone would drive by and stop and say, "Are you Dan Hudson?" And I'm like, it was kind of like, "Are we seriously?"
In your lawn mowing shorts?
Yeah. Every time we went out to eat, people would stop by the table. "Oh, I love your column about blah blah blah," whatever, the one with the dog or whatever.
Yeah,
and it was just amazing. And imagine that in a larger. That was like little old Atlantic, Iowa, right? I could go to Des Moines and no one would know who I was.
Right,
no one would care. But be a larger celebrity when you go out there, like this guy we're talking about. He's at a hotel. Everybody there knows who he is.
Yeah,
everybody. I mean, he's household name. Here we are talking about him in Johnston, Iowa. He doesn't know who we are, and we're talking about him. I can't even imagine. And it was somewhere in there. I've told you guys before that there, a gal invited me to her house, and she was all in lingerie and everything, and I was too naive to realize what was happening. I thought maybe she forgot I was coming.
Right.
It was like, no, she invited me in. It was totally comfortable in what she was wearing, and she was like a super attractive gal. And it was just like in the last 5 years, I thought, wait a minute, that was like a thing. That was like, I mean, maybe that's a situation where God just blinded me to say, dude, just be dumb.
Yeah,
you
have no idea.
You have no idea what she's doing here. She's okay, whatever. So she's kind of attractive,
Yeah.
And she's not wearing much clothes, But I imagine that kind of stuff. Oh, well, it happened to him.
Yeah, right.
He just knocked on their door. Come on in, buddy.
Right.
What?
Yeah.
I mean, so I could see, I don't understand it, but I could see how that could happen.
Yeah.
That you'd have to put those boundaries up. And look, luckily my boundaries were there. It never even occurred to me to like go the extra step with this person because, well, God said don't. So of course you don't do that.
That's right. That's right.
But yeah, anyway.
And you don't put yourself in positions where you are, where you're not of a sound mind.
Yeah.
Like, there's so much more than you're protecting than like, an hour and a drive home and a like whatever. I guess like I just don't know how. Maybe you get used to it. Like he's been the pastor, the leader of a giant organization for quite a long time, and like the things that seem so heavy to me, like they would weigh on you all the time. Like you can't actually carry around at that level. You won't ever accomplish anything, and so you got to learn to start shaking things off. Not take consequences personally. And so maybe when that weight of your influence starts to not sit on you, then you start to forget the boundaries that should probably exist because of the weight that should have existed.
Yeah. I mean, at that point, you're looking at numbers and figures. You're not looking at people.
Right.
And that's why I've always, said, like, oh gosh, as much as I wanted to be the CEO guy, I don't. I would hate that. I hate every moment of that. But yeah, the stuff that would keep you and I awake at night, they're just like, well, I hope somebody's taking care of that. I mean,
right, right, and like for a large org, like I work for a large company, and like the in its current iteration, it's a little smaller, but I mean, it used to be over like 100,000 folk, and was a worldwide company, and so like I've worked for a giant organization, and like reasonably at some level, like you can't be the people person. Like you have to. You're the numbers and processes and policies. People.
The numbers have to rule at some point.
That's right. And like, but that begs the question: is should our organizations ever reflect a situation of which we can't interact with people? In which at the point at which it switches to numbers, like, is it possible that the church shouldn't be beyond that? And I don't mean like event. Like I think you can do events. I think you can do gatherings. Where like somebody's got to man the porta potties and not know that Ted's in it. That's fine. Yeah. But like, for like your expression of this is my community, and I think people have a high tolerance for how many people. It's I think it can be quite a few. But like at some point where you go, like, I just can't be involved in the people stuff. I'm running an organization. That should throw up the flag that goes, is that what God's calling on my life was to run a corporation?
Yeah. When shepherds are no longer talking about sheep, you've lost something.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And I think we've talked about this before, that I think that maybe there's room for the guy who's not the pastor. To like, hey, it's a funny thing to think about, but like, you find someone else to run the organization. I'm pastoring here.
Yeah.
And maybe that's all right. Maybe you just got like a secretary and like a guy who puts organizations together, and then 50 pastors. I might be cool with that. There might be a path. They just work on who gets the building win or something. Like, I think there's a path there.
Yeah.
But man alive, it's just so hard. I know that there's Hillsong's a common target, one within the church, just because people are worried about their theology. And I think to Nathaniel's point, like some of the hipness of the pastors, again, some of that's jealousy. Some of us were like, boy, I wish I was a little bit suaver than that cat.
I wish I could hang out with Justin Bieber.
I'm thinking about taking my shirt off right now, if you guys don't mind.
Yeah, Dan, I got the cameras back up and rolling. You might as well bathe them.
I mean,
baptize them in your glory.
Yes.
I was watching a clip from it was another. I think it was Joe Rogan podcast or something like that, where they were talking. Like, I don't know how it came up, but I think it was. I don't know if it was this guy or not, but I think it was a Hillsong pastor. It was like hanging out with Justin Bieber with his shirt off.
Oh,
and, like,
yeah.
walking
Yeah.
around.
Lance, yeah.
Yeah. It's like, what is going on here? Like, when did you become like, or feel the need to be so hip? Like, I don't get it.
I've read stuff where they have there's a special door for celebrities to come in. You know, you knock on the door and they'll come in. They get escorted to the front so everybody can see that. Oh, you know, Michael Jordan's here today. You know, or whatever.
Yeah.
That sports team I'd heard had gone in. Oh, I was with a guy. That's it. He was part of a basketball team, and they went to this one of these churches, whichever one we're talking about, wherever that's at, and the manager, they took him, they knocked on the side door, and they took the whole basketball team into the front. They sat him right in the front, and they wanted everybody to see that was he with Kansas? It was like a big basketball team.
Yeah.
Very popular at the time. Or Kentucky. It was Kentucky. And that was a big. he was just kind of like going, I don't think this is right.
Yeah.
But it was definitely part of their thing. And then everybody's like, ooh, look at the Kentucky teams here, you know. And there was some tournament they were at that weekend. Yeah, that was several years ago, but.
It's just so, like, I mean, Jesus red flags, right? Hey, man, don't walk to the front.
Yeah.
Take the lower piece till you're invited.
Read a little James.
Yeah, I just, I don't know. I don't know. There's anything else to learn from it. I guess it's just so difficult because I don't. I think there's actually during the COVID stuff. I find a number of the Hillsong worship stuff really good, really encouraging, thoughtful. As a matter of fact, one of the songs came up for worship this weekend, and like there's a number of these where like you can read these as poetry, like they're thoughtful with their words in such a way that like they're beautifully done. Sometimes difficult to sing, but otherwise like thoughtful. And so. I remember during the COVID stuff, like there was a particular lady with one of the Hillsong bands, and like she just hopped on and did a worship set, just her and a piano. She had just a beautiful voice, and like it was so cool. It was like a great use of technology, a great use of their platform and their popularity to come on and like kind of like Rent Collective kind of done the same thing. Is like, hey, what can we do just to try to connect people with something that felt a little bit normal? And so like that stuff doesn't happen in a vacuum. Like something about a church structure that has a little bit of space and a little bit of money to say it's all right to bring someone on and pay them to create music for Jesus in this way. And it's okay to have decent equipment, and it's okay to produce it well so that when you put it on YouTube, like it sounds good. It's not just like Ben put a camera in the corner type of stuff.
Right.
And so like I think we constantly do need to refine and go, look, you can't get what's good by doing what's not good. I think we need to be clear about that. But you can still hold firm to the things that say, hey, look, we actually think this is valuable, but how do we protect it? Not how do we stifle it, but if something is good and important, we should be asking ourselves, like, how do we protect it? Because, like, think of all this guy probably had, this was 2019. He's been doing this for more than that. I think he's been 20, 30 years or something. Like, he probably could look back at his life with in awe of all the things that it feels like God has done through him and trying to lead this organization or whatever. And like, let's get out of this. I don't know enough about it to say either way whether you hate the man or not. But like, I think people are getting baptized. People are meeting Jesus. He won't know, to Dan's point, because it's a numbers thing. It's not like he knows whether it's stuck or not, which is bad. I think that's wrong.
Right.
But like, in general, could you look back and say, not the work of my hands, but thank you for blessing it and letting me see all these, like, your kingdom growing in the world through something I got to touch. Like, and then what? And then you just kind of whizzed all over it, and you said, here's 40 minutes. Is this worth it? And there's more stories or whatever, and it's been an ongoing thing with him. But like,
well, it said the thing about the 2013 with the lady or whatever.
That's so weird.
Yeah.
One, like, a text message in 2013.
And what happened to there? It seemed like there was no follow up. That's what now, 7 years ago.
Yeah, right. 8, 9, almost.
Yeah.
Oh wait, I'm living in the past.
But
no repercussions then.
Yeah. Maybe they just let it go because it was like,
you got to give people the benefit of the doubt. Like, oh, he didn't really mean that.
Yeah.
Or,
It was just one text message.
It was a joke, or
And what was it though?
Out of
Was
context.
he sitting on his winger? Or?
I don't know. They didn't say. This was so odd. Like, hey, there's they just said a text message in 2013. Doesn't everyone have a reasonable follow-up question?
Yeah.
What was in it?
what was it?
Like,
What made it inappropriate?
yeah, right. Like you could say it was an inappropriate picture. They're like, okay, that's enough. Or like a proposition, or like something that gives you a characterization of what. Or did he just tell an off-color joke?
Yeah.
And like probably shouldn't have, and then he stopped. I mean, we can work through some of that stuff. But anyway,
But also, who cares? Like what? You know what I mean? Like,
you're gonna have to clarify what you're talking about.
I mean, obviously she cares, and people should care in his organization. But like, for it to be on a website and for us to be talking about it, it seems like so far removed that it's like,
Oh, what business is of ours?
yeah,
Yeah. I mean,
Like if this could be happening, with any Johnny pastor guy in some tiny church, and we'll never hear, but like just because he's not at a conference and he's getting drunk by himself, and all that sort of thing. But I don't know.
yeah. I mean, I think that's true. There's pastors are humans. Everyone probably has. Well, there's probably a good chunk of pastors who have some sort of like something like that. That there was some mistake they made, weren't thoughtful, they dealt with it, and then they kind of moved on. And I think there's room for your pastors to be human. And it's odd though, like for such a big deal as this last thing is, like if this is the only other thing that ties like your sinew together, it's not a super hard story for a guy. I don't know. The whole thing's it's just really unfortunate. It says. Hillsong's global board appointed a 4-person integrity unit. Why is it in quotes like that? That seems disingenuous. The integrity unit.
Not just the elders.
What?
Isn't that what that's supposed to be?
Well, yeah. Like, why do we need a
integrity.
separate? Like, why do the elders lack integrity? That you got to get a 4-person team.
4-person. Like that's a weird number. Even I don't know. Yeah. Cool.
Let's make it 7. Let's write them.
Let's see. It says, Dooley told Hillsong staffers that even though the woman in the 2019 incident had a lot of conflicting emotions, she told someone at the church about the encounter. The woman also asked for a conference fee, and a Kingdom Builder donation to the church returned. Houston repaid her from his personal funds. That's good. Doesn't it seem odd? Now, see, doggone that piece of detail. Now it really starts to matter as to what went on in the hotel room. Because you're like, she asked for a refund. She goes,
She didn't go to the church, but gave money to the church.
like she went to the conference. And yeah, and you're right, and donated to the church.
Whatever this kingdom figure was, that like the apostle figure in level or whatever we talked about 10 years ago.
Kingdom Builder.
Kingdom builder.
Yeah, right. It says Hillsong's global board, they bring in the integrity unit to investigate the complaint and concluded Houston required church discipline, but he was not held accountable. What the flying heck does that mean? How can you need discipline, but you're not accountable for it?
Huh.
You ever tried that in parenting, Dan? Like, you're grounded 2 weeks. I admit you didn't really do anything wrong, but that's bogus. It was found that Pastor Brian became disoriented this is ridiculous, after a session at the Hillsong conference following the consumption of anti-anxiety medication beyond the prescribed dose mixed with alcohol. This resulted in him knocking on the door of a hotel room that was not his, entering this room and spending time with the female occupant. This is the worst lie I've ever heard. I'm not saying he wasn't drinking, and I'm not saying he wasn't on pills. But like this, I got confused. I ended up knocking on the door of a woman that I spoke to earlier in the lobby, and then suddenly was able to strike up a conversation in the hotel room for 40 minutes.
Yeah.
And then left. And the woman somehow didn't walk away with flying, like, glowing colors about it. This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Finally, the investigation by the Integrity Unit appointed by the Global Board found that although all parts of the complaint were unable to be sustained, important elements of the complaint were sustained and the conduct was of serious concern. They found that Brian had breached the Hillsong pastor's code of conduct. The board further confirmed a statement reportedly made by Dooley that they had tried and failed to discipline Houston for the hotel room incident. How do you fail to do it? It was decided Brian should take 3 months off from ministry, but unfortunately he didn't abide by that. He did conduct some ministry, and he did consume some alcohol. Okay, I'm back with Dan. He's arrogant.
Yeah.
3 months to work through, like, whatever this, like... He was able to take more time off, blah, blah, blah. He addressed his alcohol use. And wait a minute. Here we go. There's no more information. In the 2013 incident, Dooley said Houston sent a text message to the former staffer along the lines of, "If I was with you, I would like to give you a kiss and a cuddle or a hug." Boy, that is really nerdy
and creepy.
Yeah. I've just lost respect for him.
Yeah.
Not that I didn't before, but
yeah, but that's weird.
Huh.
That's
that's not even like a cool guy move. That's just like,
right.
Hey, you.
I would like to kiss you,
hug you, and squeeze you, and call you friend. Hey, George.
It's like a phrase off of those hard candy Valentine hearts that no one eats. This is the level of he's not suave. I don't know how he got this position.
I will love you and snuggle you.
George forever.
Oh man. However, let's see. In light of the evidence before the global board, the decision was made to offer what I would call grace, not to cover up and not to expose. It's not what? The idea was that Brian would use the time to get healthy. However, not all of Hillsong elders agreed with that approach, and they had started raising the issue publicly with congregants. Okay. We're not about exposing people. Why not? I mean, I get it. There's some things you want to deal with privately, but like to the extent that he's unrepentant, he's not reacting in the way that they've asked him to.
Yeah.
Then like, you already took two fellas.
They're not actually dealing with it.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And it's not, so this guy says, sin is messy and it brings all kinds of pain. While they endeavored to act biblically in handling the complaints against Houston, which is not covering it up, boys, Hillsong's global board admits that the church needs to review its governance model. Finally, this is the end of the article. Like many other churches of its size, Hillsong's governance model had historically placed significant control in the hands of the senior pastor, but we recognize that the way we do things needs to be reviewed. We know there are areas in which we can improve, and we will work honestly and transparently to that end. All right.
So here's the deal. Mike Fust is a mega church pastor, and he's out of the country. He's speaking. He's holding some leadership thing. We're his elders, right?
Yeah.
If he falls, we get our identity. But yeah, I'm elders of the Mike Fust Church.
Yes.
We get part of our identity being with him. We're part of his entourage.
Yep.
So if he falls, we fall too, and all of a sudden we're nobodies. So there's a little bit of self-protection in there, I think, from the leadership, as opposed to really keeping him accountable. It's like we've got to keep him propped up, and we've got to hide some of this stuff. I think that's going on too.
Yeah, that's true. No one wants to be part of, like, it takes a real different kind of personality to be the whistleblower type, to be the guy that says, like, what people think of me be damned.
Yeah.
I'm going to say the thing.
Yep.
Because everyone else, you're right. They were proud of their church. They're proud of where they've gone. They're probably proud and not even in a sinful way or anything. Like they felt good about what God was working with, the things they were contributing to. Yeah,
like seeing the YouTube videos are blowing up.
Yeah. It feels like you felt like you were contributing to something that was making a difference in the world. And at some point you say, do we need to protect the brand because we need to protect its influence? And the moment that you say, anything comes before, do we need to protect Christ crucified? Then you know that you have a problem.
Yeah.
Is there anything more important than that? And if there is, then that's that brand thing. And like, I guess that's the other thing is like, are we putting ourselves in a situation where, like when you can't be around the people, or that you have your brand is important enough that it feels like it needs protected over and above Christ crucified? That's probably key item number 2. That was the case.
Do you think that they feel like they are protecting Christ crucified? Because in that, if you're in that scenario, it's like, okay, now we have to kind of maybe shield. I don't know. I'm trying to think through what one of their motives would be. Like, okay, we've got this guy who screwed up, and now he's just another one on the pile.
Oh yeah,
these
yeah.
Christian pastors who have messed up and abused power, and like, how could Jesus let this happen? How could Christ let this happen? Like, could any of this be real at all with all these dudes who just get, climb to the top and then become corrupt?
Oh, totally. Like, especially with a church like that, where like a lot of the growth is coming from, like, they're reaching people who previously were unchurched, because there's something compelling about either the message or the music or something like that. And like could someone reasonably think to themselves, hey, what does this look like from someone who's just stepping foot into a church for the first time, or just meeting Jesus, and like, do they misunderstand Jesus and the church by hearing about this thing? could someone think that? Yes. Could they think it under, like, are they concerned about the right types of things, the impact on these folks? Yes, they are. It still isn't the answer to protect them. But, like, I think that's right, which, again, I think makes things great. Like, it's real easy to come down hard on people, but, like, I often find that people's motives are interestingly less selfish than what I might have presumed in a black and white scenario. Like, oh, we need to protect the church. You're right. They very well could just be thinking, like, I care about all these people who are in this church. I don't want them to misunderstand Jesus because this guy hosed up, and the easiest way to do that is to protect what people find out. I think there totally could be people that do that. Now, I think the gospel's stronger than that.
Yeah, I think it's really misguided, especially with, like, if you're trying to protect Jesus and not using the means that Jesus said to use, then you're probably not protecting Jesus very well.
Yeah.
Or at least you're not thinking about it, all the way through.
Yes, I think that's the issue, is that, like, it's just not thought through. Like, is it right to care about people and be concerned about what this does to their faith? Yes, it is. But you don't. But they got in this mess by following human means when they should have followed the Spirit means, and, like, you're not going to get out of it by following human control means either. Like, the Spirit means would have worked before, and they'll most certainly work now. They'll do the thing that it's supposed to do. But, like, I get it. I think I have sympathy for that. Because a lot of times it's not out of arrogance, it's out of ignorance. It's not someone, like, they may not actually fully know which is the right time to ask. Hey, how would Jesus handle this type of thing? What should we do? Not what do I feel like doing?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Hey, you're listening to Live from the Path. If you got any comments on that story, you think we're way off or whatever, you just let us know. You can call the Live from the Path Bob Eisler complaint line. That's 515-517-0085. That's call or text 515-517-0085. And that's the you give us a holler and let us know anyway how we're doing, or whether you agree, disagree on that story, where we got it wrong, where you think maybe you're the old codger type that I was saying about earlier. And here's the thing, bless you, son. I know you get them right sometimes. I think that doesn't justify some of your positions, but, like, I'm free to acknowledge that sometimes I'm in your corner. I'm like, we'll just cut everything off. We can't handle any of it.
Back in my day, we used to be teetotalers. Not a sip. None of us were caught in a ladies' room for 40 minutes. And we liked it that way.
All right. I don't know. We're going to skip that for now. All right, let's do some advice. Let's keep this train rocking here. Dear, oh boy, what's going on here? Dear Live from the Path, I've been in a relationship with a man I met at work. It took me 6 months to decide to be. Oh, holy cats! I wonder if Mike screens these to be intimate with him, and it will be a year next month. Things are going great. The only issue. What are your guesses, Dan? There's only one problem. What is it?
His wife.
Nathaniel?
Yeah, I wasn't listening. I'm sorry, I'm moving on this. I heard intimate, and then maybe Mike screens these, and then I stopped listening.
Okay, we're going to start it again.
Okay,
so far I'm logging Dan as wife. I've been in a relationship with the man I met at work. It took me 6 months to decide to be intimate with him, and it will be a year next month. Things are going great. The only issue is, Dan says he's got a wife. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm going to go wife too.
Okay. Hard bets on wife. The only issue is he has a wife and kids. The children are about my age.
Whoa.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
Hey, that's 2 left turns.
Good heavens.
2 left turns. Here we go.
Whoa.
Oh, boy. This is a humble type. This is why Mike does it.
He slipped into my hotel after
that's right.
42 minutes for.
Goodness. She says, I am young, beautiful, and I know I deserve more. But I'm falling in love with this man, and I can't resist our passionate sex life. Goodness me. He's done things with me I've never experienced before. We see each other often, and I enjoy his company. This is the first time I have ever been a side piece, and it bothers me that the time we spend together is limited, and I can only call within certain hours. I know he likes me, but my feelings for him are way stronger. How do I resist my yearning to want to be around him or just talk on the phone? Should I change jobs to have a new beginning or consider a relationship with someone who doesn't have to be a secret? How can I end this when, with every fiber of my being, I want to stay?
It needs to be a hard end. However that happens, whether you have to move, leave. I mean, you are dishonest. You are a whore. You are destroying children's lives. This man has a wife. He's a jerk. You don't want that kind of guy. If he's cheating on his wife, what makes him think he won't cheat on you?
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many things wrong with this whole thing. I don't care how he makes you feel for 10 minutes. He is using you and discarding you and going home to his family. And you need to end that for your sake and his wife's sake and his children's sake.
Yeah. Yeah, like this is difficult because like my gut reaction is like based upon the age, if you're as young as his children, and it's not hard to tell what the relationship is at work, like whether he's a boss or something like that. But like my first gut reaction would be like, hey, look, you're being deceived. You're being misled by this man. He's manipulating you. Mm-hmm. But here's the thing. Like, he's married. He has children. And you seem to be arrogantly pursuing this relationship and wondering, like, and saying you deserve more and, like, allowing yourself to go further and further into something that you know is disastrous, not only for you, but for other people, for innocent people who are getting no pleasure out of any of this. Right? Like, you might be getting some cheap earthly stuff going on here, but like that wife and kids, this is not a mutual benefit. They're getting destroyed here, and you're contributing to that. And like, I mean, this is him. These are his wife and kids, and so like Dan's right. He's a jerk. We should lay this on him. But like, I mean, the second you knew that, I mean, you shouldn't be in the relationship with him anyway. You should get married and find a church and love Jesus. But like, the second you knew that, like, this should have been a done thing, And so, yeah, I would agree. I would break this as like you don't even need to tell him. I just wouldn't show. Frankly, if I were because of the level of attachment that you have, if you were willing to listen to somebody that you trust and do the thing that they told you to do, I would tell you don't show up for work tomorrow. I would change your phone number. I would just start over. Mm-hmm. This is too much of a mess, and it's already risked too much damage, and like there's no way to get out of this in a way that's healthy.
If you came into my office and told me the story, I would give you 1 week, and I'd say if you haven't told him, I will.
Yeah,
and I'll be calling the wife.
Yeah. This is just like it's wrong. Here's this even on the sliding scales of humanity, like this is straight up wrong, and you should not devalue yourself for this man. And you should not want to be at all associated with the type of man who would do these type of things with to his wife and children.
This guy, he's living like a king.
Yeah,
he's having all the little kinky sex with this little half-age little girl over there, and then he's going home and playing family with his wife and his adult children. Maybe there's grandkids involved. Who knows by this time?
Yeah,
this guy is despicable. Yeah. He needs to be called out.
Yeah. Nathaniel?
What do you think attracts a lady to an old dude like that at work? Like, I can't imagine. It's so wild. Just, I don't know.
I mean, they're put to, well, here's the thing. Nathaniel, you were a young man, and still are.
Sure.
And although, like, I recall being a young man, and compared to hopefully the husband I am now, I wasn't a catch 20 years ago. I was really banking on the fact that my wife did not know any better, and to have married a man like me at the time. Because, like, think of the pick of the litter for young ladies at a 20-year-old dudes. It's hard to find a competent man.
That's true.
And so, like, when you see a guy who is kind to you, who has a means to, take you out, who treats you well, who compliments
has confidence in himself.
That's right. And who can help build confidence in you, knows the right types of things to say to them, the things that they really need to hear, that the doltish fellas that they're probably dating don't have.
Yep.
Yeah, it's such a low. Ladies have such a low bar that it takes. Like, that's not meant as offensive. It's meant to like. The guys have set such a low behavior threshold at those ages that like it doesn't really take much effort to show a woman that she's important and that you think something of her, and to compliment and just be and even just being kind and competent, and not being a doofus,
not wasting your life on video games.
Yeah.
We probably all know guys in our world who, like, when I was younger, I knew guys that were young that somehow knew the game. They knew what to say. They knew how to treat them. They knew how to how to compliment them, and do all the things we're talking about. They just happen to be young too.
Yeah.
They did it for nefarious reasons though.
Yeah.
They just used one woman after another and left them in shambles. This is a guy who's still playing that game.
Yeah.
And he's getting away with it, and you're letting him get away with it.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
He's a real butthead.
He's a real butthead.
Get out
I
of
want
there.
to get him a shirt.
Yeah. Yeah.
Buy him a shirt that says, I'm a real butthead.
I'm a real butthead.
And then don't go to work and never talk to him again.
I think that'll solve it.
Yeah. I'm all for blowing this up. Secular says, this affair is going nowhere. So sharpen your survival instincts. Wake up and realize it could go on until he decides to trade you in for a younger, fresher side piece he can impress with his prowess. I'm willing to bet you are not his first, nor will you be his last. Quitting this person will not be entirely painless, but do it cold turkey anyway. You already know how. And if you're feeling generous when you wave goodbye, thank him for the many valuable lessons he's taught you, because you intend to share them with younger, stronger, single men. Believe me, there are plenty out there. I don't know what happened in the back half of that advice. But it sounds like we're aligned at least on it's Splitsville.
Yeah.
You know, I tell you the thing is this is going to tie to like a broader, like a macro narrative, I guess. But like people who are willing to believe that there is a whole that there's sorry, I'm trying to think of the right way to say this. That there can be a new life for them. Some people do that entrepreneurially. Like they become people who can start businesses and like have ideas that can change the world, and like all kinds of people. You know how many times I've had an idea where I'm like, boy, this would be really cool, and then like within 5 years, someone has started acting on those ideas, and I'm like, shoot, man, I could have done that. That would have been fun to have done. I mean, and it's very possible that like obviously they thought of it too, so it's not the most original idea, but like someone's succeeding because not only because they thought of something, but because they took action on it, and so like. The ability to believe that, like, not be so bound by the safety of what you know, and willing to shake things up is there are people who like have massive success simply because they're willing to take action where other people are not. They're like, nah, I just don't know. And like the same thing is true. That's like a positive reaction to it, but the same thing is true. When you're in rough situations, like a lot of times you get boxed in by rough situations because you just can't imagine a life that's different than the one that you're in. And like one of the things I would encourage you to do if you're in situations like this is like, can we just be honest with yourself and say, look, if I could reset the whole show, what would I want to be true? Well, I'd want to be with a guy who's actually available to me. And maybe you like some of the attributes of this man. Write them down. I want a guy who treats me kindly, a guy who compliments me and who appreciates me for what I'm worth, like that I'm a worthy human being, but who does not treat me like a piece of property that he gets to visit and then leave and abandon. And so write the things down that you want. And like here's what I'm not going to tell you. You can't just think on them and they'll manifest. It doesn't work. But here's what I'm going to tell you. If you look at those things, now you know how to look at your world and go, you know what? None of the life that I'm living is serving this. And so we're going to blow it up. And I'm going to start over, and I'm not going to settle for less than the things that I want in life. And so you can do that. But it's just often hard because you feel bound by what's familiar. Like, boy, I quit my job. Here's the deal. Most people have quit most people have quit their job in the last 2 years. Almost everybody quit, moved, did something else. Mm-hmm. And you know what? They were fine. And this is coming from a guy. I've worked for the same company for 20 years because I'm real hesitant. I'm like, I like it here. I'm familiar. I know these people. I know these processes. I know the colors we use. I'd rather not move. And like that probably has held me back. I don't know, from a career perspective, but like I don't have it in me a lot to just like blow up the world. But like I've been around so many people who are capable of this, that it can be done. Way more than you think it can be done. It can be done. All right, dear Life in the Path. I am pregnant with my second child. My first child is a girl, and so is the baby I'm expecting. A few months ago, my husband's cousin gave birth to a girl. The baby had a heart defect that unfortunately could not be repaired. She died 4 days after birth. My heart was broken for not only this baby girl, but also her parents. I cannot fathom what it would be like to lose my child. While I've shared my good news with close family, I have not shared it on social media out of respect for my husband's cousin. I'm torn because this is a happy time in my life, and I would love to share my news, but I worry it would be insensitive. I've confided my concerns to a few friends. They are divided about how I should proceed, so I'm hoping you can offer guidance.
At least she has a good heart about it.
Yeah.
I'd say reach out to her to the person personally before you make a big deal of it on social media. But celebrate your child. But reach out to them and say, hey, this will be sensitive for you. We want you to know we're pregnant. We're expecting a girl.
Yep.
And they know you care. They know you cried with them. And you know, I think it's okay.
Yeah.
It's hard, but it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. I would say that even the notion of the question you're asking shows your heart's in the right place.
Yeah.
Which means you're not likely to take a step that's going to be like totally insensitive and blow the thing up. And I think Dan's right. Like, here's the thing: in the moment, it might be hard for them to take. But like, if something like that were to happen, in fact, I've had it's not that situation, but like someone I think didn't want to say anything because something rough was going on, and like in the moment, maybe that would hit me in one way or another. But like 6 months down the road, if I were to find out about that, I would be like, oh man, like why would I want the thing that's causing me pain to also taint that thing, you know? And so like. If someone would have reached out and just said, hey, you know, like exactly what Dan said and say, I wanted to share this. I'm real sensitive. I just don't want it. I know it's a rough time for you. And so, you know, I thought about just not, you know, making sure that you couldn't see it or something on social media, but that also felt rude. And so, look, just let me talk to you.
They're going to find out. Yeah, it's family. I mean, you're going to find out.
Right. And you know, I don't expect, you can say, look, I don't expect a reaction from you. And, you know, I just, obviously, wish this was a different circumstance, but I just wanted to tell you before I did it that you know, you're still very much on my mind or something. Like, whatever. There's a way to do it because, like, it's true. You're not making it up. It's true.
Yeah.
Nathaniel, what do? You just post it?
Consider this.
Okay.
And this might be this is a hot take.
Okay.
Don't post anything on social media about your life ever. How about that?
That's bold.
Or anything that matters. Of substance, like having a baby, because like you know you got the 5 people around you and your parents that actually care, and then after that it's like someone's gonna look at it and go, wow, I didn't know old Shelby from high school is having another baby. Right on, Shelby.
You don't think people's circles are a little bit bigger than that?
I don't know.
Yeah, are you?
I mean, do they actually care though?
Did you? Is it because you're in the Mike Foose chair? Because that sounds like a Mike Foose type of thing to say. That like
Maybe.
Nobody gives a crap anyway. And like if they care about it enough, or if you care for them to know, you call them or text them. Past that, you keep it off. That sounds
Yeah. I mean, it's just so I feel so baloney to post something on the Facebook or on the Instagram. It's like, look what's going on in my life. I'm having a baby. It's like, nobody cares.
Hey, but I know I kind of care.
You care
I
about
do.
some dude
Yeah.
that you knew in high school?
Well,
Having a
but
baby?
like it's real easy if it's the only people I'm friends with 5 people in my family and then 500 people I went to high school with. If that were the situation, yeah, I mean I suppose that's a little bit dumpy, but like I think you've got kind of circles of friends and circles of influence of which like I may not care. There's a peripheral of like I would at least half of the people who I'm Facebook friends with they don't care and I don't care. We're just connected for some reason or another.
Yeah.
But like, you know, I would certainly say 100 people there's 100 people on Facebook of which like they would want to know. It's similar to writing letters and letting somebody. I suppose you're just not having to take the personal touch to it. You think it just feels lazy. I should have to get some addresses and send some cards out.
Send some cards, send the Christmas card out, say, hey, this is what happened. Don't even tell them when it happened. Just let them know after the fact. Hey, we had a baby. Just so you know.
Yeah, I mean, you could do that.
Send the Christmas card out.
It's weird. It's weird because it does feel kind of if someone has a child and doesn't tell you, it brings into stark relief what the nature of your relationship was, whether you knew it or not. Like you might say, hey, I'm good friends with those people, but if they had a baby and then didn't bother mentioning it to you, you would be like, they are not as good of friends with me as I believed I was
like
with them.
even if there was like a possibility where like, okay, I'm good friends with this guy, and then a year goes by and they're like, what? They had a baby? Like obviously you're not that great of friends. Like if you would have gone and see them.
So you're
you know?
saying drop the facade.
You would have saw the baby in real life and said, wow, look at this baby. What's its name? And instead you just like live vicariously on the internet and say, oh yes, I'm so happy that I got to see this baby.
Okay, so here's the question: is there no room in society for, in a healthy way, for casual acquaintances? Like take the person that drove by Dan in his mowing shorts, and says, "Hey, are you Dan Hudson? I really enjoy your column." Now, Dan probably doesn't care whether that lady had a baby or not.
Right.
But like, someone took the time, but wouldn't it mean something, Dan? Didn't it mean something for someone to take the time to say that?
Yeah. I mean, it was flattering and kind of humbling too, and a little bit creepy.
Okay, fair.
I mean,
It's a
but it
little
was
bit-
kind of cool. It was more cool than creepy.
Okay. I'm just like, for someone, it's kind of like you're giving. So people on the show, as an example, we've had plenty of bad bands come in and people we've interviewed, and like, if I were to say, "Hey, we're having another baby," and like somebody who was on the show one time, wrote congratulations. I mean, they took the time to do it. They could have scrolled
Yes.
by. They could have thumbs up it. But like instead, they took the time to say something. People, I get all kinds of the happy birthdays still happen. Is there not a place for that, Nathaniel?
I don't know. It just maybe it's because I'm not like active on the internet or anything like that I feel disconnected from it.
Well, yeah, man. If you don't invest in it, it's like a fine marriage. You got to put the effort in.
I think that's true.
The only time I get on the Facebook every once in a while and I look at things that I don't know why. 2011, 2012, I was posting like daily. And
You were in. You were all in.
I was all in, and it was all just the dumbest. Like I'm glad that the memory thing is there to remind me of how dumb I am. Or like I would never pop up and be like, I wish that my clothes were made of bed sheets so that when I fell asleep in my clothes, I would already be tucked in. Like I would have never remembered that thought crossed my mind. But for whatever reason, in 2011, I had the gall to put that on the net for the people
for
to
the
know.
world to take in. This is what I'm talking about. This is what young ladies have to waiting for them. And if they, actually, I've got the same problem. Although the opposite happens. The memories pop up from 10 years ago. I'm like, boy, that's fine. That's real
Yeah, I
fine.
get that
That's
sometimes.
real
I wish I'd have
good.
said that twice. Okay, I don't know. I'm a mixed mind about it because like I'm actually totally for. I think we've talked about this on the show a lot, so I won't belabor the point. But like I think I could totally get on board with just cut it off social media type of stuff. But then I just wonder. It feels like an overreaction to me. I think there has to be room in life for, hey Ted, how's your wife? Oh, she's doing great. How's your house plants? Oh, we're not lonely. Like whatever it is, you would have casual interactions where like I don't need to know everything, but like life is some like you can have that sphere of influence where it's all right to ask the just one step in question. It doesn't have to be 3. And I think that's probably all right. It doesn't make you shallow. It's just you've just set their appropriate boundaries for the depths of the right relationships. Okay, so final advice, Dan. You say you're sticking with yours was reach out. Just talk to him
reach
beforehand.
out and go ahead and don't feel. I mean, celebrate this child. This is a gift from God.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. And Nathaniel says, leave it off.
Yeah, I mean, if you, I also think that you should message them, these people, say, hey, listen, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
this is where we're at.
This is where we're at.
This is where
This thing happened.
This thing happened.
Bummer for everyone.
Yeah, you don't have to do announcement to say your child died and ours didn't.
Right.
I
Yeah.
mean, you're not celebrating their loss. You're celebrating your gain and
Yeah.
grieving their loss at the same time. So
Yeah, and maybe the advice here to you then is even if the cousin or whatever has a negative reaction, just know that that's not about you.
yeah,
And just be patient
It's
with
grief.
him. Walk it. Maybe just be mindful of what you talk about in front of him or whatever. And like, you didn't cause that. That was. It's just an expression and they're working through something. And so, do your best not to take it personally, because like it's those types of things that happen, and then now you're irritated with them for being irritated with you because you tried to handle it well, and then like stuff. It's an unnecessary chasm. Let them just chalk it up to grieving. Let it bounce, and then re-engage at a later time.
Because it could honestly be even worse if you try to not, try to hide it. Because they're gonna. I mean, the child's gonna be born,
Right.
and they'd be like, "What? You couldn't even tell me?" It's like a second hurt.
Yes, that's right. That's
Yeah.
right. Treat them like humans. You don't have to.
Yeah.
Actually, sometimes we try to tiptoe around people, and like it doesn't mean when you say like you be direct, it doesn't mean you're like terse or offensive, but just ask the thing, say the thing that you want to say, and see how they react to it. Like I think we do a lot of trying to figure people out. When oftentimes the easiest thing is just to ask them, "Hey, I can't figure you out. What would be best?" And then just listen to that. That's Ben's marriage advice for the night. Just maybe just ask, and see what happens. All right,
I take it all back. I just looked at the Facebook to see what the last time I posted was.
Yeah,
and it was on June 6th of last year. And it was for my anniversary. So, a moment in life.
Lest you be a hypocrites.
Yeah.
You're out.
I'm back in. Post it.
Okay, post it. All right. Let's see. Secular says, sooner or later, your husband's cousin and her husband are going to learn about your pregnancy, if they don't already know. The kind thing to do would be to let them hear about it directly from you rather than via post on social media. After you have spoken with them, you can then share the happy news of the impending arrival for all your friends to see. Holy cats. That's 2 for 2. Super close. All right, we're going to do where we're closely aligned with secular, so we're going to do one more. Dear Live from the Path, I have been married to my wonderful husband, Alec, for 5 years. This is a second marriage for both of us. We raised children on our own and waited until they were out of the house to get into a relationship. My issue is Alec plans events and then becomes stressed because the house or the food isn't perfect. My idea of an event is, unnecessary full colon, my family comes over and we enjoy each other's company. We usually do potluck, and everyone helps with the cleanup. My husband's idea of an event is that we are the host and everyone sits down to a formal dinner. I hate this. Why would I spend all my time serving my family and cleaning up after them instead of enjoying being with them? In his defense, Alec does most of the prep and hosting on his events because I refuse to kill myself making sure everything is perfect. But even though he does most of the work, he's obviously irritated the whole time, and by the time of the event, we're barely speaking. These events are not fun for us, and visiting family notices the tension, so it's uncomfortable for them too. I just want to enjoy my family, not impress anyone. Our house is always presentable. It's not like I invite guests into a mess. To hear him talk, you'd think we have rats running around. So I've tried discussing it with him, and he says, my mom was a perfect hostess. She made everyone comfortable, waited on them, etc. You know what? I don't care what his mom did. This is how I entertain, and I'm not going to kill myself and then have a miserable time. Am I unreasonable? Oh, boy.
Okay, you got Mary and Martha here. That's all. I mean, it's just two personalities, and even Jesus said, "Hey, you know what? How about you slow down a little bit and listen to my teaching?" He's not there, but I would side on the relax a little bit, enjoy your family. But I also understand if you're wired, if you're not going to enjoy it because things aren't perfect, well then make it perfect, but don't be upset with her.
Yeah.
It's just a personality difference. It's. I mean, you just got to work through it, get through it. I wouldn't go crazy on it.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I do think that, and I think this came up in a different advice where we were talking about one of the lady who just likes it spick and span, and it felt overdone. And to a certain extent, if you're going to be the quirky person, you do have to bear most of the weight of your quirks.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I think as a spouse, you should do your best to support your spouse. And so, you know what, if
don't walk through the street or the floor with muddy shoes. I mean,
yeah. right. And if this is important to him, maybe do your best to try to help out. Without, but people do have to realize that, if you're the quirky person, you can't be upset at someone else because they don't care about it the same way you do.
Yeah.
We get that a lot where, we're like, I just don't know why they don't care. They just don't. They're not wired to care. Well, they should care. Yeah. Well, you care enough for everybody.
Yeah.
And so, you're just going to have to back off a little. And I know advice isn't for him. Otherwise, you'd say, look, I think you need to honor your wife a little here. And if it's important to you and she's going along with it, and at least just staying out your way and not complaining about it, you should be thankful for that. Mm-hmm. And, if it's important to you as a mama's boy to go do the thing your mama did, okay, great. Go do that. But don't get mad. And then, recognize that she's sacrificing something for you. You should be willing to sacrifice something for her. You should be willing to let go of this thing and say, look, my wife wants a layback Thanksgiving, and I'm going to give it to her, just like I would expect her to support you. And so, just don't be the extremes are really unnecessary. Oh, we always do these events, or we just want to be slovenly and make my husband irritated. There's no reason to do either one of those things.
Yeah.
Just trade them off. Hey, I get Christmas this year. Lazy Christmas. Slob Christmas. Okay, great. We'll do the tucks and tails for the Thanksgiving. Congratulations. I've figured it out. Think through this.
Yeah.
Nathaniel.
Yeah, I don't have anything to add. It sounds good.
Okay. All right. Secular says, Remind your husband that families have their own traditions. If he wants to entertain his family in grand style, he's entitled to do that, and they probably expect it. You think you think this guy's overdoing it all? Or do you think maybe his family's like that, and maybe they would think less of him if he didn't do it?
Yeah, I think that's just what they're used to. That's what Mom did.
Yeah.
And they're used to someone being stressed and saying, "Oh, the biscuits are a little overcooked," and they're like, "Don't worry, it's all right. We like it." I mean, that's just normal to them.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's true. And like the guy didn't choose the family he grew up in. He didn't choose his mom, and so whatever you just get comfortable with that kind of thing.
Yep.
Okay. It says, and they probably expect it. However, he has no right to impose his style of entertaining on your family because it's not fair to you or them. Because you're not going to change him, compromise by divvying up the entertaining. You do yours, and he should do his.
Yeah.
3 for 3.
Is that going to work? Like, is the impression that not these two families aren't going to be together at the same time? Because it's not like you could have the slob in the living room and then the tails in the dining area. That feels antagonistic.
I think generally families tend to be at one or the other side. I mean, they might once in a while get together, but
yeah,
generally, I would see how that would work. Okay.
I mean, you could at least you could invite them both and just say, "Hey, look, it's Marion's holiday. You know how it is. We're gonna eat pizza and burp in the living room. If you don't want to come, it's fine." And then they'll just self-select.
Yeah.
Because
we do up Mother's Day real big, and we just recently started inviting like our son-in-law's parents to come, and we just tell them, hey, here's what it is. If you can't come, great, whatever. But just so you know, this is what the expectation. Their expectation is to be pampered. Pampered. Excuse me. But just so you know, we're going to go over the top and be weird, and it's just goofy and we're having fun.
Yeah.
And they love it. It's nothing like their normal dinners, but not for our moms either.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. All right. Yeah. So key theme here is just let's just talk with folks. Well, first of all, stop dating married men. That's not part of the key themes. But secondly, look, just talk to some people. Just be open about it, and then figure out a way to support each other. Hey, you've been listening to Live from the Path. We really do appreciate you hanging out with us tonight. Unless you're Brian Houston, in which case, boy, I feel like you've got other stuff to focus on. You should not be listening to the podcast. But if you got any feedback for us, please call or text the Life from the Path Bob Eisenhower complaint line, 515-517-0085. That's 515-517-0085. We would love to hear from you. If you want to buy a house from Bob, now's a good time, I think. I don't know anything about it, but he's always a good dude to deal with. You can get a hold of Bob Eisenhower with the Eisenhower team. They're easy to work with and hard to beat. I don't know what our plans are for next week, but we'll do our best to be in studio. In the meantime, be faithful in the means. God will handle the ends. You've been listening to Live from the Path.